This morning we're going to visit the Hue Imperial Citadel.
After we spent half an hour waiting for each other.
I told her, I'm ready when you are.
And I was ready. So we both went on Instagram.
That's why marriage is about communication. Welcome to Hue. Hue used to be an imperial city, so today we're going to visit the Imperial Citadel.
Actually, we arrived yesterday, but we took a day off to do some housekeeping, organizing, editing, and obviously to sleep some after a 10-hour-long bus journey from our last place, Ninh Binh. And we will also pay attention to the weather and general condition. We are now in central Vietnam, and this area is subject to fast flooding in the period that we are actually in. So October and November, and there is some flood alert right now. And it just started to rain again, but we are prepared. We have rain jackets and a lot of motivation, so we are ready to go and explore some Citadel.
Let's go. We're just about to cross the bridge behind me to head over to the Imperial Citadel. And as you can see, the Perfume River right behind me is full of water, and it just started raining again.
That was Uli, our local correspondent, and we are just crossing the bridge. You can see the famous flag post on our left-hand side, and just ahead of us, we cannot see it yet, but soon will emerge the Citadel. It is apparently huge. You can say spend one day exploring it, how big it is. A famous touristic activity in here, boat ride on the Perfume River, but in this season it is apparently not advised and a little bit dangerous. The water is a little bit unpredictable, but we are crossing fingers for these guys.
We crossed the bridge over the Perfume River, and we're going to get started at this point and walk over to the Citadel. And as you can see, the rain picked up. So let's see how well we do out in the rain.
I did not expect this in here. We've been here. We passed next to this pole with our bus at 5 a.m. yesterday, but I thought it was on the side of the Citadel, not at the very entrance to it. Looks like we're in the right spot. We can see the city walls. Excited to start the visit. We made it to the first line of defense, the wall, the external wall of the Citadel, and the moat that is surrounding it, and we are ready to cross the gate.
So the first part of the Citadel, we can see it right ahead of us, but what most people don't know is that there's a second and third part to the Citadel, and the innermost complex was exclusive to the Emperor, and very few people were allowed inside.
The Citadel was constructed in the 19th century after the capital was moved from Hanoi to Hue for a few dozen of years, and it basically takes the same principle. So it squares, and within the main citadel that was dedicated for civil things is the sacred city, the forbidden city, again taking the same concept as the Chinese use, dedicated only for the emperor and his crew. And now, with this amazing weather, we're gonna go and explore it. To the main gate. Let's go. We just purchased our ticket, and this is the second entrance to the Citadel, so the entrance to the Forbidden City. Isn't it beautiful even in this weather? And just look at the moat, how filled it is with water. I'll show you the moat from closer, but this is what I need to deal with. Uli in his today professional Central Vietnam outfit.
It's Hue Rain Chic.
Sponsored by Citadel Electric. Please contact us, please. This is the entrance to the Citadel, and once again the moats. like in Hanoi, we can see a bell and a drum on both sides of a gateway or a courtyard. Both are considered very important instruments for the Vietnamese court because they mark the arrival or departure of the emperor, important ceremonies, etc. Especially the presence of the bell is quite symbolic. A bell not only symbolizes the sound of a bell symbolizes morality, but also the sound of a bell is linked to the initial, the purest of sounds, and uh, incentivize listening or hearing. So for the emperor, it's an incentive to be a good ruler. Quite interesting, huh? We have a beautiful maquette of the Imperial City in here. Look how huge this thing is. So we are currently in here in this first gate. We are inside the pavilion. And then we're gonna turn left to visit this section of the city, to then turn towards the middle and visit the palaces of the emperor. And what is quite interesting is the system of moats and lake. The entire city is circled by the moat, and there are different little lakes visible. But I also want you to pay attention to this external wall. So fortifications, probably inspired by the Europeans because they look very similar in style, and probably imported by the French. Look over there. We're still in the main gate, and as we were walking out, we spotted those beautiful golden seals. These are actually ceramic replicas of the original seals that were used by the Nguyen dynasty, and they commemorate different events and different people. So every single member of the family or the Nandris would have a seal, obviously, to sign and seal the documents with their specific seal. Can you see the design of it? And in the middle of the main gate, we have a replica with the throne used by the Nguyen dynasty, placed exactly in a spot where the emperors would provide address to the from public, just at the top of the Citadel gate.
Here you can see the Forbidden City. And what's interesting to know is that of the 160 buildings that were originally on this complex, only about 10 remain. And that was a result of the American War in the 20th century.
And some part of it is still being reconstructed, as we can see in the background.
During the Nguyen dynasty, this complex was bustling with activity. But as a result of the American War, of the 160 buildings that were here, only 10 of them remain. It was subject to bombings fighting between the North and the South. And so during the war, plenty of this area was razed to the ground and very little of it remains. But a lot of it is being rebuilt, and you may have seen some in the pavilion, and we'll see some more as we walk along and make our way towards some of the temples in the complex.
It is very exciting that during our stay in Vietnam, we were able to visit all three imperial citadels. So only 2 days ago, when we were in Ninh Binh, we visited the first citadel and the temples that were preserved from that times. And now we have reached the left corner of the citadel, and we are entering a set of temples. And just approaching the gate to the first one, and look at this beautiful design.
It's really cool to learn about this gate because on this gate you'll spot dragons, phoenixes, unicorns, and turtles, and other things like apricots, orchids, bamboos, chrysanthemum. It also has symbols from Buddhism, Taoism, and Confucianism. And on this one, you'll see represented the 4 seasons of the year. So it's a really cool gate to take a look at. And the building behind me, called the Right House, is the house dedicated to the subordinates, which represents harmony between the subordinates and the emperor. And this year is to commemorate them. This is different than the house to the left. There's also
Because these are the left subordinates and these are the right subordinates. There's no cutting. All of this goes. The right subordinates. Do not mistake with the left subordinates. This is one of the urns of the Nguyen dynasty. There are 9 of them here placed in this temple. Urn in Vietnamese tradition symbolizes power of the emperor because it was made from the iron gathered during the war. And the Nguyen dynasty wanted to imitate the previous dynasties that also produced some urns, and in the 19th century, 9 of them were produced to symbolize and commemorate 9 emperors of the Nguyen dynasty.
We're about to walk into the Mu temple. The Mu temple is dedicated to the Nguyen emperors and was built in the 18th century. During the French occupation, only about 7 emperors were recognized in this temple. After, in 97-98, the temple was renovated. So let's go check it out. This temple was built in 1804. It was dedicated to the parents of one of the emperors. It was later destroyed, but then rebuilt in the 1950s, and a lot of restoration work went into it in 1995.
We just reached another entrance gate to the Citadel, and just look at this detail and the very interesting use of ceramics. We have reached the Phong Tian Temple, another temple commemorating the emperors and their empresses. So apparently, during anniversaries and other celebrations, females were allowed to attend the temple, which is apparently not the case in the other temples. Let's go and see it. And we didn't go too far because the temple was destroyed during the war in 1947. But you could see some reconstruction works in the background, so we really hope that maybe in the future, if you visit, you'll be able to see it.
The compound here is called the Dien Tho Residence. It was built in 1804 for the Queen Mother or Emperor's grandmother. And at one point in time, it had about 10 buildings. There was a storefront, there was a temple, there were houses, a pavilion, and also a corridor that connected this compound to the Forbidden City. And here, take a look at some of what's here now and also some of what was reconstructed between 1995 and 2001. Right behind me once stood a wooden building that was then modernized and turned into a medical clinic for the Empress in her later years. Later on, it was used as President Bao Dai's private residence.
Women were not emperors, they were just mothers or official wives of emperors. But this pavilion is a nice display of feminine power in Vietnam, and I particularly like this picture titled Queen Mothers Receiving the Minister of French Colony in 1931. Pretty cool, huh?
This temple behind us was built in 1831, and it was both a Buddhist temple and a shrine. It was visited by the Queen Mother on the 1st and the 15th days of the lunar month, and it was actually restored in 1849 and 1900.
Is this an example of the living quarters of the mothers, the Queen Mothers? They were becoming emperor's concubine at a very young age, 18, 19. And if one of them would give birth to a son who would later become emperor, they would become the Queen Mothers. And obviously move up in the hierarchy of concubines.
Pretty cute.
What is it?
A set of buildings with what looks like a smaller moat. We have a bridge on the other side. Bridge on this side.
We've just visited the last resident of Queen Mothers, and now we're gonna turn this way to the main section of the Imperial City. We hope to see maybe some glimpse of the Imperial Palace. Let's go. We are now on the opposite side of the Imperial City, and this is a third gate that we saw today. And now for this little gate, we're gonna enter to see the Purple City. Let's go. This is
Cool, huh?
super impressive. It'll look amazing once they finish renovating it.
We're now in the Forbidden City. And a little fun fact, the emperor actually lived here with his ladies. And the only people that were allowed in here other than the emperor and his ladies were eunuchs because they wouldn't pose a threat to the emperor. The more you know.
A statue of a golden dragon in the middle of the Forbidden City, and it looks like it is actually made of wood that eroded over time.
and covered with red and then golden paint, and positioned on a metal podium. We hope they renovate it soon because it looks quite cool. We are in Tai Binh, which is a reading pavilion constructed in 19th century and is unique for its landscape and mosaic. Let's go. Uli really wanted to see a theater here at the Imperial Citadel, and it looks like we finally located it.
Just finished walking around the former Imperial Citadel, and it's a massive complex. You get to see temples, you get to see the Forbidden City. There's a lot of history here. And as I may have mentioned, part of the complex was actually torn down during the war, so there's maybe a lot that you missed too. But what you can see is really cool. They're doing a lot of work to restore it, and overall I think I would give it a 4.5 out of 5.
Okay, I would give it 5 out of 5. I loved it. The weather could have been a little bit better because especially in the beginning the rain was challenging and very intense, but we learned a lot about Vietnamese history, especially the last dynasty, the Nguyen dynasty that had their headquarters here. I really enjoyed the part about the Queen Mothers and learning a little bit more about the place of female members of the royal family in here. And yeah, you can spend an entire day here, so definitely bring snacks and water, or maybe plan accordingly. Now we are exhausted and very, very hungry.
Very hungry.
So we are heading to lunch.
Off to lunch.
We just crossed the last gate of the Citadel, the exterior moat, and back to the city life. A fun fact, the internal Citadel, the Forbidden City, is obviously a monument and closed to cars and everyday life, but the external walls are integrated in the city. So one of the main streets in this area goes inside the walls, and the bridge that we crossed in the very beginning of the visit is a normal bridge that the inhabitants of Hue or Hue, this is apparently the way that you pronounce the name of the city, use every day to cross from one side of the Perfume River to the other. I just love this. And apparently our lunch spot is also somewhere here. Super interesting. Let's check it out. We will now exit the external wall of the Citadel through a different gate. As you can see, it's still in very good shape, constructed in the 19th century onwards. This entire fortification system was quite modern at the time, and this is why the Citadel was an important defense place during the wars that Vietnam was unfortunately involved in the 20th century. This is also why part of the Citadel and the monuments that were inside were destroyed in the process. We really hope they will be reconstructed soon.
I rolled my first nem and here you'll see that I put in some of the pork, some of the veggies here, salad, and now I dipped it into peanut sauce. There you go. Let's have a bite. The meat, smokiness of the meat contrasts with the freshness of the salad, so it's a really great mix. And the peanut sauce just gives it a nice flavor. Really good. And now we're opening up a third of Hue's specialties here. And so this one is wrapped in a leaf. I think it's banana leaf. Let's see what's inside. Kind of reminds me of a tamal. Oh, and you can see here that it's a little bit gluey. I wonder if it's made out of rice. And you have something in the middle. I think it might be maybe cork, a little bit of sauce, or it could be also seafood. So let's see. I think it might be pork, but very yummy. There's a little bit of fish. Tip is very savory. The outside is very gluey. Well, let's see here. Maybe it's a little bit like tapioca and bubble tea, but it's very good.